Welcome everyone to Emerging Civil War Symposium here. I'm here with Curt Fields for our very first interview of the 2025 Symposium. So welcome, Curt. Gave a great presentation on Ulysses S. Grant in St. Louis, going with our themes of Civil War cities, right?
Thank you.
For sure. So, you've been doing living history, right, for a little while now. What's one of the things that kind of drew you to, the figure of Ulysses S. Grant, aside from your striking resemblance?
Well, first of all, with the resemblance, I am in no way related to General Grant. It's just that with me, all the right genes package came together and produced a guy that's about 155 pounds, 5 feet 8 inches tall, and a medium build.
Wow.
And I could grow a beard. I grew up as a Civil War fan. It's always been a passion ever since I was a child. Can't remember learning how to read, and when I wasn't trying to read something about the Civil War. As I grew up, I was always okay. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and I had no preference for Robert E. Lee and the Confederate cause or Grant and the Federal cause.
Yeah.
I was always interested in the stories of the individuals. So I didn't have anything special for Grant, nothing against him. I went to the 145th of Chickamauga back in 2008 and met President Lincoln, Dennis Boggs.
Okay.
Was a great Lincoln. And I asked him for a photo. And he said, of course, he's got that Lincoln-esque humor and a body double. He's 6'4", and he put his arm around me. And as soon as he put his arm around me, I had an epiphany. I thought, wow, what a photo op! Because Ulysses S. Grant is the most photographed man in the world.
Wow.
In the 19th century. Lincoln is the third most photographed man. And for the folks watching this, I'll tell you, Frederick Douglass was number 2.
Okay.
But even though Grant's the most and Lincoln is the third photographed man, even though they were the team that won the Civil War, there's not a single photograph of them together.
Huh.
Lots of pictures and paintings and drawings, but not a single photo. So I'm standing there in this lightning moment and all these factoids flying at me.
Yeah.
And I thought, I wonder if I were to grow a beard, because I didn't have one, and put on a Yankee uniform, if I could look like Grant. And so I did, and that started what is now, I'm in my 16th year of doing President and General, and today Captain Grant.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And of course, we have your emerging Civil War entry here with us today. What's one thing, in preparation of the book and working on the book, what's one thing that you learned about Ulysses S. Grant that you hadn't previously known?
That he, I was reminded that he was a really deep thinker. He was a solitary man in the midst of a madding crowd all the time. He was always thinking. And now in the 21st century, the buzz phrase overthinking, Grant wasn't guilty of that.
Okay.
Grant had the uncanny ability to see the immediate problem as a battle, the immediate problem and the positions of the enemy and what needs to be done, and of a campaign in its entirety, far-flung across a region. And he was able to keep those two disparate images, thoughts, in focus and work adroitly between one and the other. I learned that. Now, something I'd like to point out that I learned about Grant after I began my research and reading and study of him so I could portray him in first person.
Mm-hmm.
Ulysses S. Grant had a great sense of humor.
Mm.
I remember the first time I had any inkling of that, I read where Grant was behind closed doors with friends and family members, that Grant was the life of the party.
Mm.
Now, I thought when I read that, if you're at a party where Ulysses S. Grant is the life of the party, you need to find another party. But as I've read, the nuggets are here and there and over yonder and back over here where he said or did something funny. And as the broader picture developed over the years of the study, I came to realize, and had it documented in many places, Grant had a great sense of humor.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, I personally, you hear the stories about like his presidency and the corruption and the the speeding ticket and everything, but I mean, as I've read a little bit more, I think you really get a sense of his humanity, and he's kind of a relatable figure.
He was very humane. He couldn't stand the sight of blood, but when he was, which is ironic, but when he was in combat, he was focused on the battle and what was going on around him and not around him in the distance, as I just emphasized. And it wasn't a focus on individual soldiers of suffering, although there are instances where, for example, at Fort Donelson, he came upon a severely, probably mortally wounded federal officer, and next to him was an equally grievously wounded Confederate officer. They'd both fallen together in combat, and the federal officer was trying to give the Confederate officer a drink from his canteen and couldn't make it.
Wow.
Well, Grant, in watching that, he ordered that the Confederate be given a drink. Stretcher bearers come running up, and they put the federal officer on a stretcher and turned to leave, and Grant said, "Him too," and pointed to the Confederate officer, and they looked at him in astonishment. He said, "Him too. The war is over for both of them. Take him for medical care along with the federal officer."
Wow.
And that's in February '62.
Yeah.
Grant was a very deeply humanitarian person. He was held on the battlefield, but he had deep compassion for the suffering of soldiers.
Yeah.
And he always wanted the numbers of wounded. How many wounded? We have Coco.
Yeah, that's right.
Coco, the emerging Civil War dog. Of course, you're not getting Coco's best side right now, but he'll turn around. Coco, show them the other end. There you go, Coco. There you go. There's the other end. Very good. Good dog. Yes, good dog. I love you too, Coco. And well, you're like all of us. You like the rubs.
And Grant had an affinity for animals.
I loved animals. I always had dogs, had a cat.
Hey, you.
When I was in St. Louis, living there with my in-laws after I resigned from the Army, they had a dog there called Leo.
Okay.
And Leo was the cook, lady that the slave cooked with them. I had trained Leo to catch chickens. And she'd call Leo and point out a chicken, and Leo would go grab the chicken.
Yeah.
And bring it to her.
Wow.
Well, I was sitting there one particular day, and here comes Leo trotting across the yard, and he looked around and saw a chicken. "Hey, Coco." And he ran over and grabbed the chicken and ran off with it. And I told the cook, I said, "It seems Leo's gone into business for himself."
Yeah, yeah.
See, he had a great sense
That's
of humor.
right, yeah,
Hey,
for
Coco.
sure.
The camera's that way, Coco. The camera's that way, Coco.
Well, on that note, I guess we'll see you online and on the battlefield, right?